The insistent buzzing of Sarah's phone vibrated against the worn wooden surface of her desk, each pulse a fresh jab at her already frayed nerves. Deadlines loomed like storm clouds, the weight of unfinished projects pressing down on her chest. Emails flooded her inbox, each demanding immediate attention, a cacophony of digital voices adding to the turmoil in her mind. Her meticulously planned schedule had been obliterated by a series of unforeseen crises, leaving her feeling like a swimmer caught in a riptide, pulled in multiple directions at once. The tension had begun subtly, a tightness in her shoulders, a persistent headache that no amount of caffeine could alleviate. But over the past few days, it had escalated into a gnawing anxiety, a constant hum of unease that shadowed her every thought. Sleep offered little respite, her mind a relentless carousel of worries and what-ifs. Today, the pressure had reached a boiling point. A crucial presentation to a major client was scheduled for the afternoon, and Sarah felt woefully unprepared. Her meticulously crafted slides felt inadequate, her talking points disjointed. The fear of failure, of letting down her team and jeopardizing. Months of hard work was a heavy weight in her stomach. As she scrolled through yet another demanding email, a surge of anger coursed through her. It felt unfair, this relentless onslaught of demands, the constant pressure to perform flawlessly under impossible circumstances. Why couldn't things just slow down? Why couldn't people be more understanding? In a moment of frustration, Sarah closed her laptop with a sharp snap. She stood up, pacing the small confines of her home office, the rhythmic creaking of the floorboards, a counterpoint to the frantic rhythm of her thoughts. Her gaze fell upon a small, worn book on her shelf, a collection of Stoic writings she often turned to for solace. She picked it up, her fingers tracing the faded gold lettering on the spine. Flipping through the pages, her eyes landed on a passage from Marcus Aurelius. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The words, though familiar, struck her with a renewed force. In the midst of her swirling anxieties and simmering anger, the simple truth of this statement offered a grounding perspective. She couldn't control the unexpected crises that had derailed her schedule, nor could she dictate the demands of her clients. But she could control her reaction to these external pressures. The anger and the anxiety were consuming her energy, clouding her judgment, and ultimately hindering her ability to cope. Taking a deep breath, Sarah consciously tried to shift her focus inward. She acknowledged the feelings of stress and frustration, allowing herself to feel them without judgment. But she also reminded herself that these feelings were transient, that they didn't have to dictate her actions. Her thoughts then turned to another Stoic principle, one often emphasized by Seneca. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This resonated deeply with Sarah's current state. The looming presentation, the potential for failure, these were largely scenarios playing out in her mind, fueled by fear and self-doubt. The actual event, when it happened, might not be as catastrophic as she was imagining. Armed with these Stoic insights, Sarah felt a subtle shift within her. The tight knot of anxiety in her stomach began to loosen, replaced by a quiet determination. She couldn't magically create more time, but she could choose how to use the time she had left. She could choose to approach the presentation with a calm and focused mind rather than a frantic and fearful one. She sat back down at her desk, reopened her laptop, and began to review her presentation. This time, she approached it with a sense of detachment, focusing on the facts and the core message she wanted to convey. She acknowledged the areas where she felt less prepared, but instead of dwelling on them, she focused on her strengths and the aspects of the presentation she felt confident about. As she worked, she reminded herself of another piece of Seneca's wisdom. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Even if the presentation didn't go perfectly, even if there were setbacks, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It could be an opportunity for learning, for growth, for a new approach. This perspective helped to alleviate some of the pressure and the fear of failure. The afternoon arrived, and Sarah walked into the client meeting room with a sense of calm that surprised even herself. She wasn't devoid of nerves, but she wasn't paralyzed by them. She delivered her presentation with clarity and confidence, focusing on communicating her ideas effectively rather than striving for unattainable perfection. There were questions she couldn't answer perfectly, moments where she stumbled slightly, but she handled them with grace and honesty. The clients, sensing her genuine effort and her command of the subject matter, responded positively. While she didn't secure the deal that day, the feedback she received was constructive, and the clients expressed interest in continuing the conversation. Walking out of the meeting, Sarah didn't feel the crushing weight of failure she had anticipated. Instead, there was a sense of relief, a quiet satisfaction in having faced her fears and done her best. In the days that followed, Sarah reflected on the experience. The Stoic principles she had turned to had not magically erased the challenges she faced, but they had provided her with a framework for navigating them with greater resilience and mental clarity. She realized that true strength wasn't about avoiding stress or pressure, but about how she responded to it. And from this experience, a profound and practical lesson solidified in her understanding. Life will inevitably present challenges, moments of intense pressure, anger, and anxiety. The key is not to avoid these feelings, but to recognize them, understand their source, and choose how to respond. By focusing on what we can control, our thoughts and actions, and accepting what we cannot, we can navigate the inevitable storms of life with greater calm and resilience. True strength lies not in the absence of difficulty, but in our ability to find inner peace and act with wisdom in the face of it. The deadlines continued to come. The emails still flooded her inbox, but Sarah found herself approaching them with a newfound sense of perspective. She couldn't control the external demands, but she could control her internal response, choosing to focus on the present moment, prioritize effectively, and accept that imperfection is a part of the process. The lessons from ancient wisdom, combined with her own lived experience, had equipped her with a more resilient and grounded approach to the inevitable pressures of life.